What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we are going to be starting our winter project on our 2016 Jaguar F-Type R. Today we're going to start with getting the front fascia off again. We have several videos of showing how to do this, but we're going to get back into it again today because we are going to be getting rid of this ABS plastic splitter, and we're going to take, we have an Alumilite splitter over here. We're going to take the two splitters and create one good splitter and make it out of carbon fiber. So we're going to use this two splitters as a template. So we're going to get the front fascia off. But in this series over the winter, we are going to be yanking the supercharger off, fixing all the plastic pipes that are notorious for cracking and breaking. We got aluminum crossover pipes, all the Y pipes, we got everything aluminum, aluminum housing, water pump. We got both the electric water pump and the mechanical water pump brand new as well. So we're going to drain this thing of coolant, and then we're going to put the front charge cooler in there. It's aftermarket from Paramount Performance, I believe is where I got it. And then the Velocity AP tensioner for the supercharger. Since we have the oversized crank pulley and the undersized supercharger pulley, this thing does get a belt slip every once in a while. So the new tensioner reroutes the belt and fixes the issue with the belt slipping over the supercharger. So let's go ahead and just start digging right into this thing.
Built with soul, not just steel.
Okay, so we are going to go ahead and pull off our wheels for now. Give us a little more access. While we're in here, we're going to go ahead and clean our air filters as well. Maybe replace them. Eventually, we will be upgrading to the 2.3 liter supercharger with the carbon fiber intakes and a whole bunch of other goodies. Methanol injection from Velocity AP. We gotta save up for that though. We're doing this on the ground and not in the big shop because we don't want to have the lift taken up over the winter for our other customer projects. So we're just going to disable this thing here inside the fab shop where it's out of the way. All right. No spider webs. We'll just set that like that. Let's go ahead and check out our carbon fiber rotors, or carbon ceramic rotors. Everything's looking good. We got almost 50,000 miles on this thing. Got more than enough pad, tons of meat. We have no warpage on our rotors at all. Again, we don't drive this thing a whole lot, but nevertheless, it is pretty awesome that these things still look great because these are very expensive to replace. All right, so on these, you're gonna have your bolts in here, and you have two here, I believe 5 across the front here, and then all the ones from underneath. So again, we've had this fascia off multiple times now, so. But I always have to relearn how these things come off. There is spacers, at least on mine. I have a spacer here and a spacer on one or two other ones to make sure that the seam matches the hood really well. Okay, and all that. Now we got to go into here. We'll get all these out of the way. 30s. They are a 30. Yeah, feels better. 27 back. All right. One, two, three, 4, 5. Okay. These front ends really don't take that long, if you're using power tools at least, to unbolt and remove. Okay, now, let's set these under here. Now we got to look at the underside. Let's grab a flashlight here. You can see, I don't recall if they're Torx or if they're bolts underneath, so. All right, so they are, you can see in there's Torx, torque, and then back here they are bolts. So we'll need both. Then we can pull this whole fascia out. There'll be a couple electrical connectors and a coolant hose, not coolant, sorry, a washer hose on this right fender that goes to the headlight washers. So make sure you don't go yanking off too early. You can see, got to unplug these, but I believe there's a main harness on one side where you can unplug these. So, and then here's some of your coolant hose. Mine are actually, I didn't realize mine are dangling. I'll have to re-situate those. Let's go ahead and get small extension. One, two. The reason I'm going to use this as a template is this already has a pretty flat underbody, but right here there is a cooler that runs horizontally, and these are air for the hot air coming through that cooler to get out, and I don't want to cover this up or these up. So you see this is cut just to the front of the car. We do want to anchor these, the new one, a little bit better than this. I mean, it does anchor to the radiator support and pulls down, so it should in theory actually work, but it's all mounted in plastic. So we want to make a couple extensions so we can mount it to the frame. So that way, however many hundreds of pounds of downforce the front splitter puts on the car, it's not just tugging on plastic. That makes sense for you guys. Right now, this Maxton Design one is literally just for looks. And it's starting to fade already because the car had to sit out over the summer, unfortunately, so the black is a little gray. All right, I think we've got it. Yep, we sure do. Okay. Let's get you repositioned. Okay, now we're gonna very gently start to pull this off. I think we got everything, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, gotta pop the clips by the headlights here. Fortunately, my headlight is pretty damaged, but these things are super expensive, so they work fine. Here is that hose I was talking about. And it actually pulls apart. It's kind of hard to see, but there is a plug right there, kind of up under the fender cover. There's that. Now we got to get the electrical connector, which I believe is, very carefully, okay, sorry, hit my camera apparently. There's the electrical connector there. I'm going to try to watch out for all the black widows. That might be in here. It's one thing about living in the high desert. Freaking spiders galore. Which way does this go? Come on. There it is. Push and pull. There it is. Okay. We should, in theory, be able to gently set this thing down. All right, there you guys go. That's that vertical cooler, or sorry, that horizontal cooler I was talking about here. So I got to make sure the air can actually go through it and down and out. So don't want to block any of that off. Our filters are still looking fairly good. We'll probably yank these off, clean them out. All right, in preparation for doing the coolant pipes and supercharger stuff, we're gonna go ahead and, once you have your lower fascia off, here is your drain plug for your radiator right here. So we're gonna go ahead and start to drain all our old coolant. We're gonna be putting new coolant in this thing. We're at, like I said, we're at about 50,000 miles now. So we're gonna be doing all the services. We're gonna service the transmission, everything over the winter. I don't know if this pulls all the way out or if it just sits there loose. There it goes. Okay. There we are. It does got a little holding tab so you don't lose it, but it'll drain faster with it all the way out. Okay, let's pop our cap. There you go. That should be flowing nicely now. Yep, sure is. All right, now back to the splitter. Okay. Okay, so very carefully, I'll flip it onto its nose. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna get all of these bolts out for the splitter. Once we do that, you can see down under here the spacers. I'm not sure we're going to use the spacers on the next one because you want it sealed up against the body as tight as possible. You don't want an air gap. Like, again, this one is just for looks, but that air gap doesn't allow the splitter to actually be a splitter. So I'm going to go ahead and probably time lapse this on the big camera here. But super easy. We're just gonna hold our bolts, hit them all with a gun, and get them all off. Okay, so you can see here, splitter's off. What we're going to end up doing is where we put our splitter rods right here originally. Hopefully this thing's not flipping on you guys. I just realized that. But hopefully, what we're going to do is we're going to put a little extension because they're facing right towards the steel bumper here. So we're going to do a little extension off the steel bumper, and then we'll make a bracket when we get the new rods, and they'll be anchored to this solid point. And then in the back corner, I think we're going to use the actual aluminum subframe here, and we'll either riv nut it or just put a nut and bolt here, but we'll run rods here down to the outside internally, so that way when the downforce presses down, it is pulling down on the actual main aluminum or steel structure or an aluminum subframe here. So that way it's actually pulling down and not just flexing all the plastic. Okay, so we had kind of tested this a couple weeks ago, kind of drew some lines, but this is a spare splitter or a destroyed splitter off my buddy's S6, and it's the exact width we want for our splitter and the exact length. So with it sticking out, we're actually about 4 1/4 inches past the body all the way around. So we're under that 5-inch spec. There's a lot of, depending on if you get into racing, any type of racing, there's a lot of different classifications for how big your aero can be. So we're trying to stay under that 5-inch classification. So but this will give us, basically what we'll do is we'll center this all up, draw it out, we'll cut it, and we'll just tape it all together, just because this is just a template for the foam that we're going to use on our carbon fiber. So this will give us the exact template so we know it fits the body, and then we'll have to figure out our anchor points and all that. And then what we'll do is we'll take a piece of this scrap and we'll patch this corner here. And we do want to run side fins, so I got to look at how to do the side fins, but we'll take a chunk of this Alumilite and just finish this little section off here, because we want it to come all the way back to here, because that's where we know the wheel well is. So we want it to come all the way to the end of the wheel well. So yeah, now what we're going to do is we're going to take some measurements. Again, I'll probably just put that part on time lapse and then get it centered, draw out our line, and then once our line's drawn out, we can kind of cut this and our template will be done. That'll be a video for today. Okay, there we go. I got enough room up here in the front, so let's try this again. So we got those corners squared on both sides. Now we want 33.5. Keep this squared. That's squared. There we go. There it is. That should be true halfway point. Yeah, see, we're about a ½ inch off, so glad we double checked. Okay, so that one's done. Let's get this out of the way, do the same thing to the next one. Just set up against the brake here. We're going to do the same thing here. Find out what overall length is. We'll use the regular measuring tape for that. I think it's in my pocket, yeah. Oh. Overall length is 73.5. So 73.5 divided by 2. 36 3/4. Okay. So Let's go ahead and set one of these down. Square it up with the edge. It should square along that edge. That's square. That's square. We said 36 3/4. Right there is, let's make sure this isn't moved. That one's squared. That one's squared. This edge is looking good. I'll put my Sharpie. There it is. Okay. 36 3/4. Okay, we have our halfway point. By finding our halfway point, it's gonna allow us to really be able to square up the sides since they're on a curve. So, that was just a temporary mark. We kind of hand drew when it was just hanging up under the car. Let's see here. Let's grab this and this. We line our center up. Let's see how good our eyeball was when we first did it. Hey, that's pretty dang good. All right. So that right there, we just got to make sure our distance here and our distance here is squared, and then we can draw that out. So let's just get the regular measuring tape. Actually, it might be easier. Let's go ahead and do this. Oh, where's our small one? Sometimes millimeters are just easier. Okay. So we have 90, let's see. Well, they are curved different, so let's go. Let's follow this curve to the end of that. And we're at 85. I'm going to call that 90 right where it ends, right in this corner. If you look here. Boom. So we're going to call that 90. So you can see we're way off on this side. So by 10 millimeters, so split the difference, we need to go 5 millimeters of a twist for this to be actually centered. So that comes up, that one's gonna go in. So we need to keep it straight but come back like that. Okay. There's that 75 millimeters and still at 85. That's at 82. This side needs to come up. Okay. That's at 80. And 84. 80 and 84 now. That's at pretty much 80. That's like bang on right there. Okay. This is going to be our new splitter. It's going to look like that. So the fun part, get this thing traced without anything moving. Ouch. All right. Okay, they both basically go right through that hole, so that's a good sign that they're even. I don't know if my scribe, since this is Alumilite, it should work, but we're gonna try. All right, see how that came out, you guys? There we go, beautiful. So that is the lip, and that is it centered. So we'll cut this out. We'll have to patch this because once we cut this, these two pieces won't be connected. So we'll use some more duct tape on that, on top and bottom. Probably take the sander, we'll pull this piece off, take the sander before we cut it, make it smooth, then put some tape down. Again, this is just our template. We could easily turn this into cardboard template or something like that. Well, you guys, I think I'm gonna stop right here, only because I need to get a little skill saw with a fine blade to cut through this Alumilite. I was just kind of looking on how to cut Alumilite without it like fraying like this here. So I need to get a little skill saw, but basically, you guys, what we're gonna do, and this will be kind of a little mini series within the Jaguar stuff, but we're gonna cut this out. We're gonna lay this one flat, and then we'll fix those corners. We'll tape them all together, and then we'll order the foam, and then we'll use that template to trace out the foam, and then the foam core will be what we end up doing our carbon over, so it's actually built like a true splitter. I was gonna just lay these together originally and do a skin coat of carbon fiber over them to make them more rigid, but I think I want to get into kind of some composite work for the car, so I think we're just gonna go for it. So that's it for this episode, you guys. For now, learning, building, and sharing the ride. This is JP Street and Performance. Until next time.